can tell it's winter, can't you?
Welcome to the first cold episode of the Exposed Negative. Yeah, it's well, I'd like to say it's cold, but I think we have both basically just rumbled each other. We're both having bad hair days.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we're just
I have got the added touch that it is actually cold here in the shed.
Oh yeah, I guess. Do you actually? Yeah, that's a good point. Do you have any heating in the shed?
I have a small 1-bar radiator, which is fine actually. It heats up pretty quick because it's insulated. It's just that I've been in and out all day with the door open. So.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Jack Frost is nipping at my nuts.
Yeah, go on. So, what's your week been like? Mine. We'll get to mine. It's been wild.
I mean, let's just go straight to yours because nothing's really going on in my week.
The trouble is, right, I say it's been wild, and I think maybe I have overcooked it slightly. So let me dial that back and just say I have existed for another week on this planet, and it has been fine. No, honestly, I have been waiting for something for almost my entire career, and it has happened. The other day, the 24-105 2.8 lens for the Canon RF system has been announced.
The Mega Zoom.
The Mega Zoom, right? But like, that is going to be unbelievable quality because I own all the other RF Zooms and I cannot wait to sell them all and just have 2 of those lenses. That will cover me for absolutely everything I do. One for the video rig, one for the stills, sorted.
Isn't it? I've seen pictures of it. Isn't it like 2 foot long?
Yeah, but I'm like 6 foot tall. So if you stack them up, it is. Look, here's the problem, right? Innovation doesn't come without any consequence. No, it's there's got to be something. There's got to be something to give, and unfortunately, it's the size and the weight and the price.
But aside from those 3 things,
apart from those 3 things, it looks excellent. So, but for me, for all the video stuff that I shoot, there are some really neat little features that no one seems to be talking about, or no one that I've seen online. They're all talking about the size and the weight, but it is a fixed length, so it does not extend. This is the first RF zoom.
That's good.
This is the first like standard length zoom that doesn't extend. So
2470 doesn't extend, does it?
Yes, it does. The RF one does.
Is it? Oh, I can't remember. So long since used mine.
Still in the shed, but no, it's it doesn't extend when you zoom it, which on a 24-105 length normally is great. Yeah. So and then it has got a feature built in, electronic parfocal focus retention. Whatever I don't know the technical title for it, but obviously you know what a parfocal lens is.
Oh yeah, obviously. Who doesn't?
Do you know what a parfocal lens is, right?
Yeah. Those parfocals.
Well, we can move on. We can move on then. If you're not,
just for the listener.
All right. Okay. Sure. Yeah. For the listeners who don't know what a parfocal lens is, a parfocal lens is one that retains its focus, regardless of where it is on the zoom range. So if you are focused in on a deer in the distance,
focus breathing.
No, focus breathing is a completely different thing. Say, for example, you're focused on the deer in the not the future, in the distance,
right?
And then you decide that you don't want to be zoomed in quite that much, but you want to kind of zoom out, but you still obviously want to have the same focus. On a parfocal lens, you just zoom out, and the focus point remains the same.
Right.
Whereas on most zooms, most still zooms, parfocal has never had to be a thing whatsoever. So. Just isn't a thing. This lens is interesting though, because whilst they're not directly aiming at video guys, they have put in a feature that is parfocal, electronic parfocal thing. So it will basically remember what was in focus. When you zoom out, it will make sure that thing is still in focus. So technically the lens isn't parfocal, but there's now electronic feature on it to make it parfocal.
So a little algorithm that works and just goes.
Yeah. So and then basically it'll just make sure it. Yeah, I don't know quite how it works, but I don't care about how these things work anymore. If it works, it's a cool feature. I don't know if that's quite right or whether I am just, currently in a happy dreamland. But I've ordered 2 of them. So,
well, I mean, that all explains why it's a 2 foot long, 8 kilogram lens.
well, this is the trouble, right? It is a absolutely monstrous thing. Like, I think also they've done the photographs with large models because you
What,
know,
Wandrd the Giant? Like,
yeah, but kind of like no offense, like not throwing shade to the guy in the pictures at all. He's a very good looking chap, but he makes the camera look small. And
yeah,
like, if the camera is made to look small, well, it's because the lens is also made to look small. I totally get it. And I don't know, they probably haven't done that on purpose, but it is a big thing. It's about the same size. It's longer than this 70-200, which isn't focusing. And it's, I think it's heavier than this. It's about the same weight as the 28-70. So I think we're talking kind of like 1 point something kilos, like maybe even 1.4, I don't know, 1.4 kilos. It's a heavy thing. But then again, does that bother me? No, not really. So
yeah, I mean, it all depends what you're shooting, isn't it? For me, that's kind of why I still use primes a lot. It's just because of the weight of them when you're lugging them around all day on kind of travel shoots or more reportage shoots. Whereas if you're more studio based and more locked down on a tripod a lot of the time, then the weight's not so much of an issue. In fact, I quite enjoy shooting with cameras that have a bit more kind of heft to them, just because in a weird way it kind of feels more controlled than kind of lobbing this thing around that's featherweight. But
yeah,
I think they've been crying out for a lens like this with Canon to kind of match what Sony users have with the G Master. Whereas I've got colleagues who are literally selling all their primes and just getting the G Master 24-70 because it's such a sharp lens.
Yeah, but the RF 24-70 is wildly sharp. I don't think it's necessarily the quality of the lens. It's not replacing the 24-70, but it is probably the most useful lens I've ever.
If it was just the range,
seen.
You probably wouldn't be that excited by it. But the fact that they've brought in those features for video,
yeah, the range is cool. Like the range means that I no longer need to carry around two lenses. I can now just have the one. That covers me for up to 105 mil, 100 mil, 105. I don't tend to use 85 a lot. I tend to shoot around 100 mil on the longer end. That said, on a lot of shoots, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of shoots, you don't have time to swing a lens. So for me, this will be such a gift being able to just jump up to a longer portrait lens length, because I never found 70 was enough. Like I always wanted that extra, I don't know, like not length. 15 mil. I always want the extra, bluntly. Who doesn't? And but for me on shoots, I always was wanting more, and then the long lens would never come out of the bag, or ironically, as a portrait guy, it'd be the first thing to go from the bag if I was having to shed weight. So I would always shoot. I've shot probably 99% of my work on the 24-70, and then I've probably shot 30% of that work wanting that extra bit at the end. And so for me alone, yes, the length would probably be enough of a selling point. It is just a very, very nice kind of addition that they have the fixed length, which means rigging it for video is just going to be a dream. The parfocal stuff, the minimal focus breathing. It's going to be very interesting to see what gets released at NAB next year, because it's almost like this is the base for I don't know, like a new type of cine lens from Canon. So
I do find it interesting as well how this world's changing. The convergence of stills and video. Even the lingo, the very fact that you said swing a lens there, I don't think you would have said 10 years ago. It's very much a moving image term.
It is. I mean, the thing is, I kind of work across both of them now so much that I'm just like, oh yeah, we'll swing a lens here. It makes me feel dead posh.
Posh.
Yeah. Or it makes me sound like I'm more in the arts.
For those listeners who are not sure what he's talking about, it's changing a lens. It's just more of a moving image term. But okay, so yeah.
Do you know why they say swing a lens?
I feel like someone did teach me this once, and I've totally forgotten it. Is it anything to do with the fact that normally you have matte boxes on and they kind of swing out?
Boom, boom. That's it. Yeah. So So what you would do, for anyone who doesn't know what a matte box is, matte box is clip on, clamp on, however you want to attach it onto the rig.
Clip on, clamp on. That should be a term.
Clip on, clamp on, trademark.
A new connection system. Clip on, clamp on.
But it's a box. They're never massively deep, and they have filter slots in for various filters. So you never attach any filters to the lens. Everything's in the matte box, and it means that you can move the matte box out of the way, change the lens, put the matte box in the same place, and go. But you would swing a lens, you would swing the matte box out of the way to make access to the lens, pull the lens out, and do that. Yeah. So I'm glad I got told the same thing.
That's exciting.
Swing a lens might just be like, oh, how do you test the size of a room? Swing a lens.
It would be an expensive way to find out,
wouldn't it?
You're in a small room.
Oh my god! Do you want to hear a funny story about swinging a camera?
Go on.
So, I've always been obsessed with trying to find the perfect rigging or the little accessories that make your life much easier. Years and years ago, I bought a strap. Right? It doesn't sound very exciting, but this was on my EOS 1D Mark II-N with a 24-70. Now, I was 19 when I bought this, and I was at university, and I bought it on finance, and it cost me $4,500, and that was £4,500. No, the camera. Imagine that. I've always wasted a lot of money on straps. $4,500 on this camera, which was not money I had at the time being a student. Quite how I got approved for the finance, it was Jessop's in Sheffield, if you're wondering. I've no idea how
they since shut down.
But I've no idea how I kind of got through. I had no money in my bank with literally nothing. I was a student. And
are you to blame for the fall of Jessop's? Are they still? They are still trading, aren't they?
For legal reasons, Craig, I cannot confirm or deny that was the case. I can deny it for sure. So Jessop's, the brand, is still going, but the name was bought, I think, rather than the physical stores, and I think they all closed down, and then they started opening up. And I know they've got an online presence, but I've never used it. I can't say whether it's good or bad. But what had happened in Sheffield is I had bought this camera, and I had spent most of my time with the camera being on shoots, being like, do you guys want to hear what 8.5 frames a second sounds like? Check it in Drive and be like, and everyone would be like, whoa. And then I'd stick it back to single frame. And I'd be like, right, okay, we're going to take some portraits now with flash without using 8.5 frames a second. I've no idea why I bought that camera. It had a grip, and I thought that was what the pros used, but I know slightly better now. Anyway, back to festivals. So what had happened? We were at Download Festival, and someone had spoken to me about this new strap, and it was like a military rugged padded thing. I think it had come from America, and I think I picked it up while I was in the States at a gun shop or Walmart or something. And it was cool. It was super padded, and it had a wider bit, and I was just like, this is awesome, really comfortable, can wear this all day, no problems. And then I was at the pit, in the photo pit at the front of the stage, back when I used to shoot live music when I was really young, and the guy next to me goes, oh, that's a cool strap, how sturdy is it? And obviously, being young and desperate to impress literally anyone, I went, yeah, it's really strong, and I took it off my shoulder and I swung the camera, and everyone in the pit was like, whoa, no, stop doing that. And I was just like, oh, this is really funny. So I then gave it a really big hoof, and the split rings that I had attached to the camera, they bent. They just full on just pulled apart, and this camera sailed 30 foot over, down into the pit, and landed in a puddle. And people were like, yeah, you're an idiot. And I was like, I feel like an idiot. I really do. But in the strap's defense, the strap was fine. The camera broke, and then I had to go back to my EOS 20D as a backup.
Oh, God.
It was good times. It's good times.
I remember hearing a similar story about on Fleet Street with the photographer that was shooting something outside of one of the Royal Courts of Justice or something. And you know how they all kind of get together in the pack, and they'll be quickly flicking between cameras, and this guy was shooting with I think it was like a big prime, like a 400 or something, like really long.
Like
One
a
of those
sport,
big, heavy. Yeah.
proper.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, and he had his second camera, which was wider, so as the subject was kind of like come within the range of that, he had to kind of change cameras, and he threw it over his shoulder, thinking that the strap was on. The strap was not on.
Oh,
So effectively, he
no.
just lobbed this camera with this huge. And he realised as soon as he let go that it wasn't attached to a strap, and he kind of looked,
Oh, my.
and then
As
just kind
this
of,
thing
as
just.
a professional, just carried on, clicked back to the other camera and carried on shooting as this camera sailed through the air and just smashed on the pavement.
Oh, my God. I will say in his defence, he probably didn't own that.
Yes, it was
because this was
probably
this was
back to
probably
the office and explain.
Yeah. By the way, guys, you know that 400 that we only have one of, and that costs thousands. Do you have a bit of a problem with it?
Yeah. Oh dear.
That's not
So
good.
no.
But anyway, this was a very, very long-winded way of me showing you my arse. So check this out.
I'm glad for the listeners. I'm glad you're a listener.
So no, it's not. It's not that bad. Just trying to show you which way.
I can't see what that is. Tom is pulling at something on his waist. What is it?
So
it's like a Velcro tab like a trouser release tab.
I'll take you back a few years. You imagine that it's a stripper tab. I've actually decided this year's been so odd for photography. I've decided to go into that very niche market of strippers who are middle-aged and who've let themselves go. And it turns out their business is also not great there either. So who knew? What I'm trying to show you is one of these.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Which is also just the focus is shocking on this. Now, this is a QD adapter by a company called Magpul in America. And I have bought this week 3 small
they're
rig.
designed for guns, aren't they?
They
Magpul
are.
make gun
now,
accessories.
Do you want to see? Let me open this one up, and I will show you the advantage. Where's my camera? Right. Welcome to the camera bag. So, the QD system is, as far as it goes, is a bit of a dream, right? So it is a push button. Sorry, for the listeners at home. Sorry, it's a push button system, and I emailed Small Rig years and years ago, and I have emailed them. I typed in Small Rig QD. I have sent them like 25 emails trying to get them to put QD ports in their grips
cages
for the cameras.
Yeah,
well, no, just for the L brackets, right?
Right.
And lo and behold, a Mark II comes out for the R5 and the R5C and the R6, and lo and behold, we have here, there. We have a QD port built in to the L bracket. Now, this isn't going to change many people's lives, but if you are going between strap, wanting something on your belt, having something on your DigiStation, so now I have one of these clips that hangs underneath my laptop, and then when I give the camera to the Digi, he will just pop it in, and then the camera is just suspended.
Pretty neat
from this thing, and then to give it back, pulls the button, away it comes.
Wow!
And so if I want to stand up and just quickly pop it on my waist, I can't see it; it's dark in here. There you go. Oh, you can't really see it, but it's now.
Stop waving your ass at the camera.
Anyway, so but I used QDs years ago, and the issue there was it wasn't quite right because none of them had Arca Swiss. Or there was no easy way because traditionally, go on.
Are they going to bring those out on the Small Rig cages? Do you think? Are they going to update the cages?
I don't know. I think if enough people email and say yes, please.
Enough people do what you've done and email them 25 times.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, well now this has now actually become, even I've raved about this camera before, it's now become the perfect camera for me because I got this Small Rig L bracket, which has Arca Swiss built in. It has a nice area where you can pull the battery out with a nice little tab. It extends the grip of the camera down by about a centimetre, so my little finger now has somewhere to sit.
Yeah.
Whereas before it did that awkward kind of curl back underneath kind of weird thing. And now it's got QD built in, and I've moved to a new tethering setup. This is
okay.
It's honestly, it has been such a great week for me as far as like all these things that I've used throughout the years. They've all tied together in one system. So I have the plate that extends the grip. That has been a bugbear of mine. I've got big hands, not bragging, just it means I can never find gloves. And so it means that I now, it means now that I can hold the camera really comfortably without using a grip, because I never want to use a grip because they're so massive. Yes. It means now also I can put the QD stuff, which I've just shown you, which is super great. And then, because now I have an L bracket on the side, Tether Tools make a bracket that slots onto Arca Swiss, where you can then put the cable down and through. Do you want to see that? Because that's actually very cool.
Yeah.
So this is the bracket.
Okay.
So it's a little Arca bracket. And then so what happens, because I use the Area 51 cables that people can pick up from our friend Lymanus. And so it now slots straight in. We will put
links to all of this stuff, by the way, listeners. So,
but because it's a right angle cable, it slots in, and the L bracket extends just past the end of the cable. So it basically creates this metal cage around the cable. And then, it's very hard to do like that. Then I slot. Oh, I need to undo it. Oh no, I've got it going the wrong way. Basically, it's very hard to do on the spot. I do this. Oh no, I've done it the wrong way. Sorry, this is entertain yourselves, everyone. Make yourself a cup of tea. So then, I really did undo it. I've had to unplug the cable because I was mucking around. I don't want to do it too quick. But look at this now. So this little thing locks onto the Arca. The cable comes out of the camera, down, up, over, and down. So then the cable is completely locked in.
Yeah.
The cable is then protected, because I've really got to take these. I've got to take these protective covers off these.
Yeah, they're annoying.
But then look, so the cable now is completely protected and then secured by all this Arca stuff. Then, not only that, it doesn't come down, so I can still get my camera on the tripod, slide it in and out. Yep. And then when I pull it out, I then can access the QD without having to touch any of the cables.
Yes. Okay. That's very cool. So who makes that bracket? That's Tether Tools, is it?
Small Rig make the L plate.
The L bracket, yeah.
With the QD built in. And then Tether Tools make the bracket. Basically. And there's also a version from a company called Leo Photo, but no one seems to stock that in the UK. And then I've just found that the Florence cables, to give you an idea of how much I like the Florence cables, always carry spares. So I've got 6 of them because they're quite hard to get in the UK. So I always like to have a proper backup, and maybe having 5 spares is maybe a bit excessive. But yeah, so it's been an amazing week. I've had, honestly, it's been, and I used it on a couple of shoots because I did some of the celebrity Gogglebox stuff for Channel 4 and shot all that on a tripod. The gear just worked. So it was sublime how everything
worked. Awesome. Because I've just been looking, because I don't know if they make the that same small rig plate yet for the Fuji.
I hope they do. Email them and be like, you guys need to put QD in, because actually, if it was to become industry standard, here's the thing, right? There is lots of cheap QD stuff about. Do not buy it. You need to make sure whatever you are putting into your QD slot is a good QD mechanism. So I use the stuff by Magpul.
Oh, here we go.
Because you found it.
Small rig, L bracket with Arca Swiss style, quick release for Fuji X-T5. Oh well, maybe they make one for the XH2.
Okay. Email them.
But it's got the QD. Yeah.
It does have the QD. Great. So here's the thing, right? If you've just got, because they've historically just had empty space on the underneath of the plate, why not stick a QD in? You know, it makes life so much easier. And
but like you were saying, it's important that you get the proper QD so that you're not doing what you did with your weak link.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I use the, what I would say is that there's a company called PTS Syndicate who do really nice ones with a recessed button.
Yeah, which they're also made for weapons.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, anything that's made, the QD that are made for weapons,
all mil spec. Yeah,
is all mil spec, right? So it's all good. It's all going to
hanging a however much an assault rifle weighs off you. It's going to be more than a camera.
Exactly right. It weighs more than a camera. Plus, also, if that drops to the ground, it'll go off, and that
rather than go click click click.
Yeah, exactly. If our cameras go to the ground, we're like, oh well, that's unfortunate, isn't it? But I haven't even told you about my biggest woes of the week. Have I told you about my biggest woes of the week? Bron colour. No.
Woes of the week. There should be a feature.
I mean, to be fair, I have so many woes. It would just become like the one stop. This would be my
the woe show.
The woe show. But I had a, what's the right way to say it professionally? Catastrophic.
A meltdown.
No, I was very calm through the whole thing. But I had a bad experience with my kit the other day, where one of the bronze color batteries on the move pack, I was shooting, and I only had like 4 or 5 minutes with the talent, and I shot about 40 frames, and then the battery just goes beep, full on therm warning, pack shuts down, and I'd had to park a couple of streets over because I was filming, so I ran back to the car to get the spare battery. Again, this is one of the small jobs that I was on my own. I ran all the way back, chucked the battery in, and the casing failed. So the battery then went in at this weird angle, and when I pulled it out, the fascia came away from the rest of the battery. And I was like, oh, right, cool.
And when someone stood there watching you going, I don't think you wanted to do that.
Yeah, exactly. The assistant was like, are they meant to do that? And I was like, what, 1,000-pound battery is meant to fall apart in your hand? No. So I've basically bought back a load of Profoto stuff and created a little 4-head Profoto kit. I know we've only been off air for what, like a week?
This is classic Tom Barnes.
You
were like, no more Profoto, I'm going bronze colour.
It turns out
a couple of months later, I'm going to go back to some Profoto.
It turns out that
nothing is perfect.
Nothing is perfect, and that's the I think the reason why this week has been so happy and joy filled for me is that everyone who listens knows that how much I've jumped around from various camera kits, and now I'm finally happy with the Canons, and then now I've got the grip that I always wanted, and the QD and the tether lock. I'm like, my God, this is actually, and now the lens that's been announced, the 24-105. I'm like, oh my God, it's like there is a God, and he is listening to everything I mutter whilst I retouch skin. It's really, it's been a week, Greg. It's been a week.
Amazing.
So
well, I've been busy procrastinating about bags and desks.
Let's talk. Right. Good. I'm glad we're getting into this. Let's talk bags and desks. What do you? Okay. Well, listen quickly. Fill the listeners in because me and you chat a lot. We had a lot of back and forth about desks. Anyone who has followed me and my work for a long time, I wrote a blog piece for Petapixel years and years ago, which I still get about 4 or 5 emails a week about the photographer's desk, and it was very badly made, but people loved it. I've been through 6 desks since. And then Greg messaged me and was like, I'm thinking about this new desk. And I was like, let's get to it. Talk to me.
No, so I'm not, as it transpires, I'm not getting a new desk.
It's a bit of an anticlimax, isn't it?
So no, what? However, I might be getting a new tabletop. So what I've always coveted having a stand-up desk, but I haven't got one for the reason that I quite enjoy storing stuff. I have a lot of stuff. Enjoy storing stuff in the two kind of side wings of a desk. And with standing desks, you don't get them unless you kind of just have them sat underneath.
Side wings? What are side wings?
Desk supports. So
legs.
Yeah, like legs which are drawers.
I never went that far. I always just made mine out of scaff.
Right, so I've got like an IKEA one in the studio, which has got kind of the supports also contain storage. Now the one
clever.
I have here, the one I have here in the shed, is some ridiculous old thing that looks like it's come out of a Crimean War, and was probably transported, on an on an ammo cart. It's like inlaid with leather. It's all got brass handles, and I got it for free. Someone was chucking it out in Beckenham years ago, and I drove down there in my then girlfriend's Peugeot 206 and drove home with the seat so pushed far forward that I was literally had my chin on the steering wheel. But never one to give up on a deal of something free. And it's a lovely desk. It's well made. It's got a load. Like the drawers are massive, but it's not designed to be a good photo desk. So I have. I mean, you can't see, but I have an old kind of filing cabinet box, for old. Used to get in an old secretarial office, whatever, for the cards with people's info. Mm-hmm. So that sits under my laptop, and then I have my main monitor, my 27-inch monitor, on a riser. But the desk gets cluttered. So what I'm going to do is have, and in the studio, it's a very different system. I have this IKEA desk, very clean, and I built my own riser, like double layered, with loads of storage in it. So you can tuck away your keyboard, you can tuck away your tablet, your Wacom, mm-hmm. and kind of put everything away at the end of the day. So you've still got a clear space. So that's basically what I'm trying to do for home. And I've been researching it, and what I think is missing, and I'm kind of saying this in a kind of prayer and hope that somebody like Laminus will come out and say, that's something I could make. But I feel like there's real, talking about QD slots and stuff like that, I think there's a real gap in the market for making a riser where you can have attachments that are quick release for things like a USB-C hub, like a CalDigit or something like that, so that you could take it from that and then put it onto your bottom of your DigiPlate. So the same, basically the same setups, which are relatively universal for DigiPlates. Now, the company that I found that do the tabletop, they do have a system where you can screw in accessories. So you can screw in a laptop stand. You can screw in a phone holder with a mag, with a mag charger in it. You can screw in little drawers or like stands for your MacBook or stands for headphones and stuff. And it's all very mm-hmm. hipstery and not really focused on what I think it should be, which is to make that kind of a universal system so that you could take something that's attached to your desk and easily attach it to a cheese plate, basically, or attach it to a DigiPlate.
The trouble is with that is there's so many different things that people want to use, and I guess for most people, their office environment is kind of like a fairly permanent fixture. I'm obviously speaking as someone who has a very permanent fixture. I've got the Apple XDR display with a Mac Studio and the tape machine. All of this can't come with. And then I guess what I've done is I just have a permanent setup on the DigiPlate.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, imagine if it was really easy to unclip your monitor and to put it into a case and take that as part of your DigiKit. Imagine if it was really easy to unclip certain accessories which you might use, like to be able to, for example, have, this a lot of people use Stream Deck at home or Loop Decks mm-hmm. and things like that, and then they might have that on their Digi-system. And again, if you were able to take that adapter and screw it into a DigiPlate or into your DigiCart, that'd be quite good.
I did see there are adapters that you can screw into things to add quarter 20 threads, and I think
I'm sure it wouldn't be that hard to.
You drill a hole.
I'm tempted to. Yeah, if you just put a cheese plate onto the bottom of a I mean, it's not hard to make your own desk riser. You know, if you get a nice bit of plywood and sand it down and make it look really smart, you could then drill in cheese plate into the bottom of it and literally then mount everything onto that plate if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a gap in the market for just making that a lot easier and having something that maybe uses magnets or maybe uses quick release clips, but it needs to be standardized so that it could work across the different platforms.
Yeah, I guess the trouble is a lot of people. I guess for a lot of people, for example, I mean, maybe it's not a lot of people, but a lot of people are like you and I, who have multiple like multiple desk setups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
see, this is the problem I
like
have because I've got the one at home and the one in the studio, and I want to be able to go between the two. I always take my laptop, goes with me. And eventually, when I update my Wacom, I'm probably just going to have one Wacom, which I just take in on the days that I'm in the studio and bring back home, rather than having a Wacom in the studio and a Wacom at home, which is what I currently have.
See, the issue is, one of the issues is going to be the photo industry as a whole would not like this, because currently you have to own 2 Wacoms. You have to own 2 TS4s. You have to do all of this stuff. Wouldn't it be a dream if you were able to have all of this mounted and you connect everything with like one USB-C?
Yes.
I get that. That would be lovely. I don't know
or just a laptop with enough ports in it. But I understand also why that's not the case.
We're definitely not going to get that, pal. We're lucky we got the SD card slot back.
Yeah, exactly. But if anyone's listening and they've got kind of solutions to this kind of thing, or they've gone through it themselves, or they've got, any tips on it, I mean, we're always interested in here. In fact, if you're a company that's, in the process of doing something like this or developing stuff with, tech, what's the word? I was going to say digital nomads, but I hate that term, and I hate
digital
nomads.
I
hate all of those terms, but people who basically like to have organized systems and be able to move from one location to another, and I'm singing to your heart, man. You're the man about the QD slings.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm super into the dream, right? What I would love is to just be able to slim everything back to the perfect kit that works just the way, when something just works and you're like, oh wow, oh great, this is gonna make my life so much easier. So yeah, I think that'd be cool. I mean, maybe we should just not release this episode, get our heads together, do some bit of brainstorming, and get someone involved who can do CAD design. If anyone's listening who can do CAD design,
there's so many things I would love to make. Do you know what I mean? All the time I'm sat there going, oh, that would be an interesting way to do it. And actually, this brings us on to our second thing, because if we're talking about this, bags, right? Bugbear of mine for a long time is that there wasn't a camera company that were, I mean, the whole invention of the kind of camera cube, when that started to become popular, when I got my first f-stop, then they had these they called them ICUs, these internal camera units, and you could pull that bag out, that little square bag with all your cameras in, and swap it into a different bag. And they had a really nice rolling bag, which I still have, which was kind of designed for, I think, like snowboarders, skiers, kind of outdoor enthusiast kind of people, and a backpack. And you could swap the ICU between the two in the system. So you could effectively travel with your backpack full of clothes through the airport and keep your cameras, check your rucksack, but then roll your heavy cameras in. But then when you get to the other end, you put your heavy cameras in your backpack because you're going skiing or whatever, and you leave the roller in the hotel.
So you can just swap them over.
Exactly, like a hot swappable bag. I mean, that's a really unnecessary use of the term hot swappable. But I still have that f-stop
There's no
bag
heat.
up there.
There's no heat involved whatsoever. They're just swappable.
I still have that bag up there, but the rolling bag doesn't have particularly good features for photographers. It's it was nice in its day, but it's not particularly advanced. And I did see the other day, now I've never used any of their stuff, but I'd be interested and open to trying it, is Wandrd, who make kind of tote bags, and they make backpacks and camera cubes and stuff. And they're one of these Kickstarter type of brands, a bit like Peak Design, but I think they probably arrived way after Peak Design.
I mean, Peak Design. I mean, I've known the guys at Peak Design. Shout out to you guys. I've known them now 12 years. Like whenever their first Kickstarter was for the original V1 camera clip was when I started talking to them, and I've known those guys ever since. So and then Wandrd are a relatively recent. They're what, 5 or 6 years old?
Yeah. Well, I think Peak Design would be the perfect company to do it, but at the moment it looks like Wandrd have just picked them to the post. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not Peak Design respond with anything, because obviously they brought out their 45-litre travel bag,
which we both, you have one as well, right?
Own. Yeah,
we both own. I absolutely love mine, but what I will say, as with any of these big backpacks, is when it is fully loaded, it is
straps are crap.
Just everything's heavy. It just is like, and then this is where your argument for wanting a roller comes in.
Yeah. So as I said, Wandrd have brought this line out called Transit. It's on pre-order, so it's not out yet. And I will probably wait till it has come out and I've actually properly looked at it. Because it is a lot of money for a set of bags. But effectively, they have a 45-litre backpack, which rivals Peak Design and arguably has improvements on the bag design in terms of quite well thought out features, especially if you're traveling through airports and stuff like that. There's elements on it where they put the grab handles. It's always been a bugbear of mine with the Peak Design, is it hasn't got enough grab handles. It's got like one, I think, on one side, or maybe two on each side, but there's nothing on the bottom. And on the top, it doesn't work because of the way that the back opens.
Hang on. No. Hold up. Have you got your bag there with you?
Yeah. It has got one on.
Right. I've got one on this side, one on the straps. I've got one on this side, one on the top, and one on the bottom. The only side it doesn't have a grab bag is on the front.
Yeah, so
like a
but
grab
that's
handle.
My point. Right. If you have the bag open at all, they need to have... I've had to use their strap that they provide and actually tab it onto these and then wrap it around so that if your bag is open, you can hold the two straps like that.
Right.
Because there's no strap here. Now, the way that the Wandrd bag operates is you access it from the front rather than from the back, and actually it means that strap is always going to be useful. The one on the top.
It's always going to remain in the same space relatively. Yeah. Okay. The trouble is,
but it's got it has got some clever features, and then they have a rolling version of the same or similar in the same style. So for me, to be able to use those for jobs would be amazing.
But Shimoda has interchangeable units and has a roller and has a backpack.
Yes. Now their roller though isn't carry-on size. The one that I've got, it's like a doctor's bag, which I love as a design, but I use it for motion gear because you open the kind of clamshell top and then dip down into the bag.
Bring the rig. Sure, I get that.
So it's great.
But it's not carry-on. Why are people making like non-carry-on stuff?
Well, it needs the height for a camera to be put in that's rigged, with a top handle and a monitor potentially still on it and stuff. So you need it to be high enough to be able to take that. Otherwise, So it's always horses for courses with these things, isn't it? But and that bag is a beautiful bag. Don't get me wrong. I love Shimoda bags. I have the X75, I have the X50, and I have that rolling. So I think it's called the DV roller. I think they do a smaller version. But the Shimoda X50, which is this one, is great for much more comfortable straps for kind of hiking with, or any kind of just, beautiful big pockets on the straps for your phone and things like that. Lots of connection points, lots of chunky, properly well thought out handles. It's a really good bag. And because it's a roll top, you can actually normally fit more in there than you would, if you need to. It's kind of expandable. So really good bag. There's a few bits about it that kind of are annoying, but nothing that's like annoying enough to stop me using it. So I find myself using this more regularly as a camera bag than I do the Peak Design.
Really? Okay.
And it's partly because you can pack your cameras in the main system, in the main bit, but still have a top section, which I use to put all the kind of peripherals or like an extra jacket or a top or hat or whatever, all that kind of extra stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which can be a little bit tougher if it's one of those bags which is purely for camera kit. If you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It just gives you that extra, because I always have like a bum bag type situation that goes around with me that has like like a phone battery, like it's got an SD hard drive in there, it's got cables that I always need, it's got a pocket knife, it's got all of those things in it, so that always comes with me, and it's just useful to have somewhere to put that in a bag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they get the Peak one that it has a massive front pocket, but then the stuff gets lost at the bottom of it all the time. I actually just have my tether cables in it. But yeah, I mean,
I do love it. It's just the straps are not sturdy enough for when it's loaded. But if they were to maybe update it and they were to bring out a rolling bag, then that would be amazing to see there, because their design is always top notch, and they think things through.
The design,
really...
but the build as well. Like the thing I've always loved about like anything I've ever owned from Peak Design, including my favourite thing. These.
Yeah.
The tech pouch. Like they are, this one is basically in between. I've got so many of these, but this is like in between being used. They are, for anyone who hasn't ever owned one, being able to open it up and it fans all your stuff out like that. So you're then.
What do you keep in yours? Because I used to have one as my everyday. I hate that term I mean, my everyday carry. But now I just use a bum bag like that.
So I've got, I mean, these are the 3 to hand. I've got one that is my wash bag, my travel wash bag, which is brilliant because they do a wash bag version of it. And then this one is just full of just cables and stuff. And then this one, I'm actually in the process of trying to, one of the reasons I want to get this new lens is to create a slot to have one of these open in the bag, because then I can just literally just pull it open, grab the trigger or grab the spare batteries or grab a knife or grab a gel cutter or, you name it. It'll have all those little bits in it, because the Peak bag, like I said earlier, has that one little pocket on the front, the sunglass pocket, which I find really useful. But it doesn't really then have many other pockets. And then you can kind of make up all the differences by having one of those tech pouches in it. So it could be anything. I need to update mine because I want a couple of Sharpies, some biros, a little pad of paper. All the finicky bits that I kind of like. Finicky, is that right? You know what I mean. But like all those little bits of stuff that you never need, but then when you don't have it, you always need them. And then, obviously we talked about the kniffs from the... I've got to stop saying that because people actually think I'm pronouncing knife as a kniff. But then, just have like a little knife or stuff into it. Basically just have loads of useful stuff in one of the tech pouches.
Yeah.
That's the plan anyway.
Man. We could chat forever about bags.
Well, let's do it. Nerds. I mean, we've got unlimited recording time on this thing. But here's the thing, right? Going back, like overarching theme of this podcast, if you go super high level, is the stuff we use on a daily basis can either make or break your mood in a day, really, can't it? Because like if nothing works and it all goes wrong, it puts you in the worst mental state to then try and produce creative work. Whereas if you are having a blast, everything...
I think that says probably more about us as people rather than generalised.
Probably.
Because I know photographers who are incredibly creative and absolutely couldn't organise a piss up in a brewery.
I know, but for the others who can organise piss ups, I just feel that when everything, or maybe it's just me, maybe I am just like, maybe it's just me and you, but like when everything works and is good, like I feel really, it just becomes something you just don't have to think about at all.
Yes,
and I really like that. So yeah.
Anyway,
what like a weird anti-climax, I thought I was going to kind of build up and have this big long, big thing at the end and be like, so guys, it's about what you have and how you do and all that. And then no, it's kind of petered out, and it's just basically been two blokes talking about bags. But yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Well, we'll probably have to call it there, won't we? Because we've both got respective little people to go and run off and collect.
We do. Children, by the way, children. And
Sorry.
we also, before we go, we should probably shout out to everyone who is supporting us on Patreon. We now have got quite a few of you guys, so this is awesome. Thank you so much. But we could do with more, because it turns out running this is not the easiest.
There's been some interesting chats actually happening on the WhatsApp for that group, which has been quite entertaining. I've been lurking and occasionally getting involved and giving my 2 pennies worth, but
yes,
quite a lot of advice being sought and spread.
Yeah, well, it's nice. It's a nice, safe group, and it's not. There's no kind of like overbearing people in it, apart from me and less of Greg. But other than that, you know, it's now becoming.
What is it they say when you realise there's not an overbearing person in a WhatsApp group? It probably is you.
You're the guy, right? Yeah. No, it's becoming the group we wanted it to be. So it's a really nice, constructive place. So if you'd like to sign up, help the show, you don't have to join the group, but you know, obviously we'd love to have you. But you know, patreon.com/expose negative. And then obviously please follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/@expose negative. And then obviously you can follow us on Instagram as well, @xnegative.
Yeah. With the Instagram, we're going to be doing some polls on there in the future on certain things. So keep an eye out in the stories. If you see us pop up, it might be either us talking about something that's coming up or asking questions to the audience, because we do like to get feedback from listeners. We like to get ideas of what people want to see or hear on the show, people they want to see and hear from. We're always open to suggestions, you know, and we're more than willing if there's enough people that ask something to really explore doing it. Within reason.
Within reason. Yeah.
There's been a few odd requests.
Yes, there has. Oh, but Greg,
there's a reason why Tom has Velcro strip-off trousers, but
and there's a reason why I work remotely from Greg. What I will say, right? Ready? No, sure. But here comes the drum roll. Spot the man with no timing. We are going to be running a competition.
Oh yes.
Which is very exciting. So in the next episode, or the next Fireside, we will be talking about a competition, and actually it's a pretty decent prize. So not that I've surprised myself at getting that, but like, you know, we have got 6 prizes, I think, 5 or 6 prizes.
Somewhere about that, yeah.
So yeah, so it's going to be really exciting. So more details to follow in the next Fireside. And yeah, please do enter, because that'd be just a nice thing, wouldn't it?
If only 6 of you enter or 5 of you enter, then
well, exactly.
Happy days.
And we've only got 8 listeners,
Everyone's a winner.
pretty good chance of winning something, guys. I like them odds.
Nice. Cool. Well, until the next time, guys. Thank you very much for listening, and stay safe.
Stay safe.
It's cold out there.
But can't argue with you there. Thank you very much for listening to the latest episode of the Expose Negative podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can do that by heading to our Patreon or doing one-offs. The details are on the website, and the Patreon is patreon.com/expose negative. We'd love it if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@expose negative. And obviously, we're on Instagram, which is xnegative. If you want to follow us personally, mine is tombarnes.com on Instagram. And the website, and then Greg's is @GregFennell, and that's FUNNELL. So yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to listen, and hopefully you enjoy the next one.